Mabrika, welcome to Council Fire with the Riverwinds. We're your hosts. I'm Chief Joseph.
And I'm Dr. Laurelyn Riverwind.
And we have a teaching on rocks. Let's talk about rocks.
We're going to talk about the rock.
The rock,
and
yes.
we don't mean Dwayne.
Sorry.
We're going to just have a little Bible study with you. We recently watched The Chosen and
started season 4, yeah.
Started questions about and surrounding the naming of Peter and what that meant.
Now, in native culture and actually many tribal cultures, having names change is very common. We find it all throughout Scripture, like Avram became Avraham.
Sarai became Sarah.
Yaakov became Israel. Paul, he becomes known as Saul. His name never changed. It was just what he was known as.
Shaul became known as Paul.
Yes, that's what I was trying to say. Shaul became known as Paul because he was a Roman citizen. That was just the translation of his name. He didn't get his name changed. But we do find name changes all throughout Scripture, sometimes because a name has been fulfilled or sometimes because of a new prophecy. In the Lakota culture, for example, they believe that you have not lived a full life unless you have been given 7 names. 7 names. Woo! That's a whole lot of earning to do.
It is, whether you mean to or not. So also, one day we will receive new names.
Mm-hmm.
It says we will get a white rock and receive a new name. And Yeshua will be called the One.
Echad.
You know, we will refer to the Lord in a different way, and nobody's going to have a problem with how to pronounce this, that, or the other. He's going to make it super simple.
And the reason why it's a white rock, it's a throwback to the court systems of the first century and around that time and region. And it was a symbol. When you were pronounced innocent in court, the judge would give you a white stone. And that stone you would present to people if they try to bring an accusation against you. And you say, I got my white stone. I'm innocent. The judge made his judgment. And here's my proof.
Yes.
End of story.
And when you look at the fact that he gives us a new name at the time that we have the white rock given to us, where we're given a not guilty verdict, we are the beautiful thing about being given name at the same time is that we get to start over. So any of the sins of the past, any of the things, the accusations that have been brought against us, we don't have to continue to carry those forward because we're given a name that's unmarred. And that's a beautiful new beginning.
It is. And it is always indicative of a new beginning, which is why, as we were watching the episode about Kepha, about Peter receiving his new name. And, as we sat there and watched it, and then, one of the questions that Laurelyn had was, well, where's the name Kepha come from? Because obviously in Greek, the word for rock is different. It's Petra or Petros. And I remember there was Aramaic. It's an Aramaic way of saying it. But that led into this really interesting dive into rock.
What he's saying is Kepha is Aramaic. Petra is actually the word that's used in Greek, which is strange because it's the feminine form of Petros, which is masculine. So that's kind of interesting, but we won't linger on it. But we wanted to look up what the Hebrew versions are and see what kind of allusions were made. And one of the things I was really kind of curious about is that we were examining Matthew chapter 17 and where it's talking about the rock. And I noticed that
Matthew 16,
that Petra,
right?
16 or 17.
Matthew 16, 18.
Yeah, 16. I noticed that the word Kepha or Peter was used in Matthew 4. So I thought, is he really given that name? But he began referring in the written account earlier than what it was given. He's given it in John 1, verse 42.
And it's a very key point that Yeshua gave Shimon bar Yonah, right, which is Simon, son of Jonah, The very first time he met him, on his very first encounter, was when Yeshua gave him that name, Kepha.
You can also see it in Mark 3:16.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very specific about the fact that Yeshua gave that name to Peter, because that was one of the questions. We learn things, and then sometimes things end up being wrong. So you have to make sure to examine all of your doctrine to make sure what you're being taught is right, and make sure you never get what your theology is from. It's not from, don't make it from Hollywood.
Yeah.
Sometimes they get it right and beautiful, and sometimes not. So when we look at the word rock, let's go to the law of first mentions. And imagine this, though, there are different types of rocks. For example, we can say rock, we can say stone, we can say pebble. We can name the type of stone. So when we look something up in, say, the Strong's Concordance,
and you end up finding that there's all sorts of different types of rocks. Obviously, there's lapis lazuli, there's jasper, there's turquoise. All these different things. I just mentioned turquoise. There is a doctrine of men, a tradition of men going around with native people, and that's pastors telling their people to not wear turquoise because it's demonic.
Native people
to not wear turquoise. And this is a lie, and I will tell you why. Because turquoise is on the breastplate of the high priest. Turquoise is one of the stones on the ephod that represents one of the tribes. The turquoise is not demonic. The turquoise is something that when Creator made heaven and earth and everything in it, he declared it as good. So what he's declared is good. Now, what Satan does to pervert that and turn it into other things, that's where we need to be knowledgeable about what's in the Word and rightly dividing what's in the Word, and not applying extra burdens and bondages onto people where there is freedom. Okay, so law of first mention.
So let's read the text that we're talking about, Matthew 16.
Oh, I thought you wanted to go law
if that's
first
all right. Let's sorry, I did mention that, but let's read the text
you
first.
did mention the law of first mention.
Yes, I did. Starting in Matthew 16, beginning with verse 15. He said to them, that's Yeshua, "But who do you say that I am?" Shimon Kepha said, "You are the Mashiach, the Son of the living Elohim." Yeshua answered and said, "Blessed are you, Shimon, the son of Yonah."
He said it again.
Yonah means dove. "Because flesh and blood have not revealed this to you, but my Father who is in heaven. I say also to you." Now, a lot of people will stop there, or the next read the couple of verses. We're going to read a few past that, and you'll see why. "I say also to you that you are Kepha, and on this Kepha I will build my assembly, and the gates of Sheol will not subdue it. To you I will give the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and anything you bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and all things that you loose on earth will be loosed in heaven." Then he commanded his disciples that they should not say to men that he was the Mashiach. And from that time onwards, Yeshua began to make known to his disciples that he must go to Jerusalem and suffer much from the elders and from the chief priests and scribes, and that he would be killed, and on the third day he would rise up. But Kepha took him and began to rebuke him and said, "Far be it from you, my master, that this should happen to you." But he turned and said to Kepha, "Get behind me, Satan. You are a stumbling block to me, because you do not think of Elohim, rather the sons of men." Then Yeshua said to him, "He who wishes to follow me, let him deny himself and take up his staff and follow after me. He who desires to save his life will lose it, and he who loses his life for my sake will find it." So
how in the world does he go from "upon this rock I will build my ecclesia" to a few verses later, "Get behind me, Satan," and he's rebuking him?
That was all like really close in there together.
It all, and it's like, okay, what's going on here? Are we understanding this narrative
Peter's
correctly?
Feeling all happy. I got a new name. It's the Rock.
And then he's like, now I'm Satan. What's happening? So we need to go back and look at this. And when we went back to look at this, we got such a revelation of what is happening here that it contradicts a lot of doctrine. But when we look at the original language, it is what it is. So we're going to present that to you, and then you can do with it what you will. You can research it. You can search it out. And that is the statement.
So click on the next video to hear some interesting thoughts for you to consider about what's going on with this name, the Rock, and what he might have actually been talking about.